I'm Rachel, and I want to talk about romance novels. So, in honor of Valentine's Day coming up, I went through all of the books that I have read in the past several years and picked out some of my favorite romance novels, some of my favorite couples, and just basically books that I would love to live in because of the romantic element. So first up is my favorite by far, and that is Pride and Prejudice. I know a lot of people have read this, a lot of people love this. I absolutely would love to live in this story, and it's the reason that it really has become my favorite trope. I call it the Pride and Prejudice trope, where you have two characters who really don't like each other. They think the other one really just isn't as good as they are in whatever way, shape, or form. They're not as nice, they're not as thoughtful, what have you. They don't like each other, and for some reason they're really forced to get to know each other, and they realize that they have been wrong all along, and in fact they really love the other person. One of the main reasons I love this trope, and I've explained this before on this channel, is that it really doesn't involve insta-love, that you really get at the end of the book why they like each other, because you've seen the worst of them and you've seen the best of them, and you understand why these two characters really like each other, and you, I feel like, kind of fall in love with the characters yourself by the end because you've seen all the awesome things that have led to them falling in love. So hands down my favorite trope. I will read it forever and I am completely unashamed, but my number one choice always is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Next up is a series, and that is the Sloppy First series by Megan McCafferty. I love this story, and I think you really need to get the whole arc of the series in there, because you meet the two main characters in the first novel, and they do start their relationship then, and then it kind of just develops and grows up throughout the books, because they start out in high school and they end up out of college, and you get to see them grow and change and adapt as a couple, and sometimes it's easy for them and sometimes it's really not. But I absolutely love Jessica and Marcus. I think they're such a great couple, and again, I love reading that series, and I'm hoping to reread the series like in one swoop this summer, because I've never done that. I've read all the books, and I've read some of them multiple times, but I've never read the whole series front to back, and I really like it. If you like real stories where it seems like it could happen, you would really like the series, I think. Again, they're one of my favorite couples. I really wouldn't mind living in this story and being in this relationship, even if it is flawed. It's just really nice, and I really am rooting for them. Next up is a book that I read forever ago, and as I was going back and reading the titles of all the books I had making this list, I realized that I really want to reread this book, and none of the libraries around here have it, so I just ordered it, and I will have it in a future book haul, and that is 7 Days and 7 Nights by Wendy Wax. And this has that kind of Pride and Prejudice trope. It's about these two personalities who, I believe they're locked in an apartment. I think that's what they are in for like a long weekend or a week, and they really don't like each other, and they're being filmed for this promotional video. All of it's live, everybody's seeing all their interactions, and again, just like the Pride and Prejudice trope, you have these two characters who really strongly dislike each other for their own reasons, and they're kind of forced together to where they really start to learn about the other, and I bet you can imagine what happens, but I just love it. I really, really like when characters are really sarcastic with each other and can kind of give and take with that interaction. I love it. It seems kind of fiery, and I just really enjoy it, and that was definitely what happened with this book. They were able to exchange banter, and it just really made me fall in love with their love story. Next up is another one that I read a long time ago, and again, it fits right in with that trope of the Pride and Prejudice idea, and there was definitely a lot of sarcastic banter, which I absolutely love, and this one is called Every Boy's Got One by Meg Cabot. And can I just say here that pretty much any book by Meg Cabot is going to be, appropriate for this list, but this one in particular is one I liked. It involves these two characters who don't like each other, but they're forced to come together because their best friends are marrying each other in Europe, and they have to work together to save the day when the wedding starts to fall apart. And there's sass and sarcasm and barbs and, sparks flying, and I absolutely love it. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. I just absolutely love it. And again, another one that I'm going to have to reread soon. I haven't read the 4th book in the Boys series by Meg Cabot yet, so I think I'm just going to reread all of them. And I might even do that next week in honor of Valentine's Day. But so far, I think this has been the one that stands out as my favorite, and what can I say? I'm a sucker for that Pride and Prejudice trope. I'm gonna go for it every time. Next up are a few I've read more recently. One is called Safi. It is a graphic novel by Philippa Rice, and this really isn't so much of a novel storyline as it is just the idea. You get all the same content, I think, from this graphic novel, and you see this couple that just is so in love. They fall in love and then they feel really comfortable with each other. I think this graphic novel just shows everybody the kind of relationship you want to be in, where you're just happy and in love and comfortable with this other person, and it's just wonderful. I absolutely love it. And if you haven't read it yet, I would highly recommend it, especially for this coming week when it's Valentine's Day. Next up is the most recent book by Casey West, which is By Your Side. Again, I think most Casey West books would fit very well on this list, but By Your Side, I think, is my favorite Casey West novel so far. And once again, it's got the Pride and Prejudice trope, where you have these two characters who really don't like each other, but they're forced together. In this case, they're locked in the library together over a long weekend, and they kind of get to know each other, they see where each other's coming from, and start to fall for each other. One of the reasons I think this is one of my favorite Casey West novels is that there's a lot of deeper things going on. The main female lead has some anxiety issues and panic attacks. The main male lead has some issues with the foster care system, and you can see that they really complement each other and they kind of help each other through their struggles, and I just absolutely love that about this novel. Highly recommend. Again, another great one to read for Valentine's Day. And lastly is one that kind of seems a little odd for this list. It's called The Radius of Us, and I don't really know if this exactly falls in the Pride and Prejudice trope. It's kind of maybe on the border of this. It's about these two characters who really don't seem to fit together. We have the male lead who is trying to immigrate from a South American country. I think it was El Salvador. He was immigrating from El Salvador to keep him and his brother from violence via this gang in his area, and with all of the immigration things, he is basically just kind of stuck in limbo, waiting to probably be deported, trying to save his brother who's been kind of pulled apart from him, and he doesn't really fit into this area. This rich family has adopted him for the time being while he's waiting to see what happens with his immigration status, and he just doesn't fit into the neighborhood. And then you have a girl lead who does fit into the neighborhood, but she's just had a really traumatic experience. She was just mugged and basically assaulted, and now she has panic attacks, and she really just doesn't feel comfortable with anybody. And these two really come together and again help each other with their emotional issues and just become comfortable with each other. And I was really surprised at how much I love this book and their story together. So again, even though it might not be your typical romance, I think this one definitely fits on there. I really enjoyed their story and would highly recommend it. So there you have it, my top romance couple-y stories for Valentine's Day. I'm a sucker for the Pride and Prejudice trope, so if you know of any really Pride and Prejudice type books out there that you think I should read, feel free to let me know those down below. I'd be happy to check them out. And thank you for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye for now.